This is Jane Miller from jamplay.com. Welcome back. We're going to start in with 12-bar blues for this lesson. Very often when you get together to play with someone, you kick around a few song ideas maybe. What do you want to play? What do you know? What do you feel like playing? Very often, no matter what style you play, invariably someone excuse me, will finally say, well, let's just play a blues. So that's what I'm thinking now. Let's just play blues. And I want to show you how you can sort of develop your basic 12-bar blues into a jazz blues, which is a common song form that transcends styles. But to put a jazz stamp on it, I'll show you how we can do that. So let's start with your basic 3-chord 12-bar blues. I'm going to put it in F. And it doesn't matter what key we put it in, so let's try F for now. And I'm just going to do the 3 chords like you know it, and kind of make reference to the structure and get oriented to that. And then you'll see how it grows and builds from there. So here's 12-bar blues in F. 1, 2, 3, 4. So pretty familiar with that. F, B flat, C7, the 3 chord, 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. I'm just going to play the same 3 chords, but I'm going to add some tensions to the chords this time. And if you want to look at chord shapes or look at the 12-bar blues form, we have that online to look at, and you can refer to the 12-bar blues and look at some of these shapes and the chart so you can follow along. 12-bar blues in F, just with some tensions on there now, and I'll talk about them after I play them. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So just by adding tensions already, we're hearing a little more depth to the chords, hearing a little more jazz coming through already. So I added a 9 to the F7, so F9. Then I went to B flat 13. And again, you can look these up on the charts, and also we're going to talk more about how you can develop these chords. So there's B flat 7 with a 13 added. And then the last one was C7 with a 13 added. Looks just like B flat 7 with a 13 added. And then back to F9. Alright, so a pretty straight ahead 3 chord blues. Again, I recommend starting with something that you know. If any of these chords are new, start with ones you know and then see how we added something to them to make them a little more colorful with tensions on them, a little jazzier. Now I'm going to play the same 12-bar blues, but I'm going to put some what I like to call filler in there. So I'm going to reharmonize the progression just a little bit. I'm going to add chords in between the 3 that we already played. And the biggest difference is at the end, instead of 5, 4, 1, so instead of C to B flat to F, it's going to be 2, 5, 1. Okay, that's the biggest difference. Otherwise, everything's going to remain intact in terms of the structure of the blues. The 1 and the 4 and the 5 are going to hit in the same place every time. So if you look at the chart, you see how that all lines up right in the right place. But when we change at the very end, 2, 5, 1 instead of 5, 4, 1, if you want to think of it like interior decorating. Okay, we've got a 12-bar blues structure all intact and everything, and so those are the walls. but now we're gonna just like splash some color around, you know, not change the structure or anything like that. But at the end, the most thing that is a little bit like changing the structure is that 251. So it's like, you know, we put a window in, you know, no big deal. We painted, put in some nice furniture and stuff, and put a window over there. Structure otherwise is still intact. So you'll hear it. Keep humming your favorite blues head as I play, and you'll hear it and play with it. Okay, I'm going to play several times around on it, and the goal is to play something different every time. So we're going to talk about how to develop, how to add to your bag of tricks of chords, to enable you to do that. So here we go. Lots of choruses of the 12-bar blues, reharmonized tensions. Let's see where that takes us. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so hopefully you could still hear the 12-bar blues in there. You could hear the form just going around and around, and I tried to do something different each time with it. Some of the chords certainly repeat, but maybe put them in a different spot, you know, in a different context. And if you understand the concept of movable chords, just like when you first learn bar chords, that's really all it is with these other chord shapes too. They're movable. For the most part. If you want to slip in some open strings here and there, just be aware that that's not a movable chord, but it's okay. It might even add some color and tension to it. So let's walk through what some of those chords are, and more importantly, what the progression is, so that you can build it your own way and use your own colorful chords. Started with, I'm gonna just do it generally. I don't remember which ones I started with, but F9 to B flat to F9. Now here if you look at the chart, you'll see in measure 4, here's where the setup comes for measure 5. So in jazz, we really want that tension, and then the resolve. So the 1 chord still in the same place, going to the 4 chord. This is measure 2, measure 3. Now here comes measure 4. We're going to set up measure 5 by playing a 2-5. So C minor to F7. I altered the F7 by putting a flat 9, and that's going to take us to measure 5, first measure of the second line in the blues, to B flat. So you hear the tension and the resolve, the tension and the release. That's very common in jazz to have that push and pull going on. So the F7 flat 9 really pulled us to the B flat. So here's measure 5, B flat 7 with a 13. Measure 6, I put B flat minor 7 to E flat dominant 7, which takes us nicely back up to that F7. So, you know, that's a flat 7 in the key. If we're thinking blues in F, E flat is the flat 7 of the key, in the blues key. So it's a 2-5 to take us back to the 1 chord F. And then you probably caught that. It's a chromatic root motion. So F, 7, E7, E flat 7, D7. That's a setup to take us to the G minor in the last line. So again, that 2-5 that I talked about, that makes it different. It sets it apart from your typical 12-bar blues with the 3 chords. The 2-5-1 at the end is what sets it apart and makes it a little jazzier. So to set up the G minor in this case, in this key, the 2-5 being G minor to C7, D7 is the chord that's going to take us to G minor, 5-1. We're going to talk about 5-1 resolutions a lot. Whenever you have a dominant chord that's resolving to the 1 chord, in this case 5-1 D7 going to G minor, it's really cool to alter that tension on the chord. So instead of just playing D9 like with a natural 9, I want to put an altered tension on there. So I use flat 9, sharp 9, flat 13. And these shapes are going to be on the chart too for you to look at. So here's flat 9, sharp 9, flat 13. And then you're glad when it goes to G minor, right? That's the 5-1 resolution. So, but if you play like natural tension, you'd be okay with it if it didn't resolve. You know, that's like, okay, well, that could go anywhere. As soon as you alter that tension, glad that it resolves when it does. So I set up the 2-5 at the end, 2-5 at the end, G minor, put a 9 on it if you want to, or G minor 7, C7. Now since that's going back to F, that's our 1 chord, then for sure I want to put an altered tension on that. Either sharp 9 or flat 9, or flat 13, or some combination of them. And then take it home to F. Very common turnaround at this point, because someone's gonna yell one more time, right? Or someone's gonna want to take another chorus solo. So we're gonna do the turnaround, which takes us back to the top, back to the 1 chord. So 1, 6, 2, 5. That's a real common turnaround to get you there. And 6, I'm using that word loosely. It's not the 6th chord. Technically, it's 5 of the 2 chord. If you want to study the harmony of it, you'll see that the 6th chord in any key is minor. But in a blues, we use a lot of dominant chords, and that's 5 of the G minor, D7 altered, taking it a G minor. 5. That's why we're calling it 5 of 2. G minor is the 2 chord. G minor is acting like the 1 chord for just that half a measure. G minor, C7 to F. There's our turnaround. Okay. Another thing that comes up a lot then is, well, how do you play it a little differently every time? If you follow that same form, you can mix and match these chords so that instead of playing F9 at the beginning every time, play an F7-13 at the beginning of the next time, or an F7-13 in this position at the next time. Also, you can reharmonize things so that instead of playing F7 to D7 to G minor to C7 in the turnaround, We'll talk later about chord substitutions, but this is a wonderful spot for them. So in a way, this studying the blues is kind of giving you a taste of some of the real specific concepts that are going to come up later. Hang in there with this now. F7, D7, G minor, C7, that's the turnaround. Diminished, substitution for the D7. G minor 7, G flat 7 to take us back to F. That was a substitution for C7. And again, we're going to get specific about how you can use substitutions. So I'm going to take one more quick course just to let you identify where I put in some substitutions and what some of the options are for chords, keeping with the structure. Remember, I didn't want to knock any walls down out of our structure. So keeping with that structure, let's just see what I threw in. Try one chorus. So you heard the 12-bar blues probably, but that time something even different, right? With chord substitutions and different tensions added. So we're going to get real specific as these lessons progress about how you can work those in. But for now, look at those chords, look at the chart, compare, go back to the 3-chord blues. And again, my advice all throughout these lessons will be start with something that you already know, and then compare and build on that with some of the new things that are on these charts, and spend some time with that. Start to develop the 12-bar blues in your own way, and we'll talk about improvising over them. We'll talk about some other movable chord forms. We'll get real specific about some of these concepts, but for now I'll let you practice with some of these new chords. Jane Miller for jamplay.com. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you in the next lesson.